Excuse me, Madam Chair. I did want to acknowledge, looks like Councilman Harrison is online, just so you were aware.
I can see your comment online. We just haven't gotten started yet. We are waiting for an additional board member or two to appear before we get started. So if you could just hang tight for us, we appreciate your patience.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. It looks like Marcus had joined online. I guess we could confirm if that's actually him.
Present. Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. All right, let's get started with the reading of the preamble, please.
Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, October 27th. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or the raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Can we call the roll, please?
Mr. Madison? Mr. Madison? He was just here. Did we lose him? Ms. Faith?
Present.
Ms. Holzer?
Present.
And Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Madam Chair,
Present.
we have,
Oh, there we
Thank you.
go.
Madam Chair, Ms. Roca will be absent this morning. We have a quorum with 4 members, so we should state for the record to the appellants that at this time with 4 members, the appellant runs the risk of a tied vote. If there is a tied vote, the variance is denied. If the appellants would like to postpone to a future date when we would have 5 members, they may do so at this time.
Okay, so given that announcement, we have 4 board members this morning. Is there any appellant present who would wish to postpone their case until such time that we have 5 board members? If that is your desire, please let us know. Okay, what address is listed there? 99. Okay, so basically by law, we're required to notify anybody in the surrounding area when there is a variance being requested. So at this time, there is a variance being requested at 9907 Park Gate. And if you wish to stay and put some testimony on the record regarding how you feel about the variance, you certainly can do that. But if you are not interested in doing that, then you can excuse yourself. Well, because it was directed to your mom because she owns property that's near the property that is requesting the variance. And just by law, you have the right to come in and have your voice be heard. That's correct. So it looks like, not unless you want to, you don't have to. So there is a home nearby where your mom's home is located, and they are trying to change the use of the property from a 2-family, looks like to a 3-family. And so you get to have input on that because you own a property nearby. And when I say you, I mean your mom was the owner of the property. If that's your desire, you could say you don't want that near your house or you support it. You could also say that as well, or you could just excuse yourself if you have no desire to be on the record. Absolutely. All right, so is there any other, since you're here? Okay, is there any other appellant who wishes to postpone their matter, given we only have 4 board members today? Thanks for coming down. No, you're good to go. Yep. All right, so I'm not hearing any postponement requests, so we'll go forward. Are there any withdrawals or other postponement requests, Madam Secretary?
I do have one postponement on calendar 25-176 at 3318 through 3320 Maple Dale. Casa Vida LLC proposing to change use from a 2-family dwelling house to a group home. We have discovered that this needs to be 2 separate applications because there are 2 dwelling units. And so we need to repost that information. And we have moved that to November 17th. Notices have not gone out, but they will go out this week.
Okay, so if we have anyone present, either from Casad Vida LLC or any of the neighbors, as it relates to 3318 Mapledale Avenue, please note that we will not take testimony on this matter. It has been postponed to November 17th. Do we have any other postponements or withdrawals?
We have one withdraw on calendar number 25-145 at 1008 East 152nd Street. 5 Point Center LLC proposing to use or to establish use as event center in a shopping center district. The person who applied with us has officially withdrawn this appeal.
Okay. All right, so if you're present on this matter, or if you're from 5 Point Center LLC, please note that we will not hear this case this morning. It has been withdrawn. All right, does that conclude our postponements? Okay,
That's
that
what I have. Thank
concludes
you.
those. So we will go ahead and call the first case. I'm going to start with calendar number 25-181. This is 687 26th Street. Do we have anyone present from Koala Rents 001 LLC? Do we have anyone in the room or do we have anyone online present for this matter? Anyone from Koala Rents 001 LLC?
Yes, Craig Robertson, owner of Koala Rent LLC.
All right, thank you for that, Craig. Now that we know you're here, we're going to go ahead and read the case in. I'll turn it over to Ms. Hoser.
Thank you.
Our first case is calendar number 25-181. This is at 687 East 126th Street. Koala Rents 001 LLC owner proposes to establish use as a residential facility for 5 occupants in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. With that, Madam Chair, Mr. Madison, would you like to do the oath? Cool.
Thank you. At this time, we will swear in all those who are present for this case. If you are virtually attending, just unmute yourself and maybe raise your hand so we can know who will be speaking at this time. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please say your name, spell your name for the record, and provide an address. We'll start there with you, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica Monroe, JESSICA MONROE.
What's your address?
17325. Oh, I'm sorry, giving the wrong address. 245 East 208th Street, Euclid, Ohio, 44123.
Can you reply with I do?
I do. Sorry.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present for this case? Seeing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Well, we had Craig chime in earlier.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you've got to swear in, please, Mr. Madison.
Yep, Craig, please say your name, spell your name, and provide your address for the record that you do swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Craig Robertson, CraigRobertson.
And your address?
Yep, let me pull that up for you. 3578 Ludgate Road. That's in Shaker Heights, Ohio, 44120.
And can you please reply if I do?
I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present for the case?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Councilman Anthony Hairston, 601 Lakeside, Cleveland, Ohio, Ward 10. Thank you.
And,
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over to you unless there is anyone else present for this case. Seeing none?
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Madison. Can we have history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in June of 1965, a permit was issued to convert from a two-family to a single-family dwelling. 1973, a permit was applied for to demolish a two-family dwelling and a two-story, two-family dwelling and garage. There are no variances on file. And in the more recent history, we see that rental registration was issued in January of 2020. The status says it's about to expire. A certificate of disclosure issued in 2022, March of 2022, states that the authorized use of the property is as single family. There is a lead safe certificate that seemed to be issued to the property, but the status says it's inactive. And rental registration was also applied for in February of this year, and there is a note stating that additional info was required. And no variances of file, and that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to the project team. Who wants to speak first on behalf of Koala Rents 001 LLC?
I think I'll leave everything up to my tenant, Jessica Monroe. It's her, she is my tenant in that property, so I'd love to hear from her.
All right. And Madam Chair, just for the record, Mr. Robertson, are you attesting that you are the owner of Koala Rents 001 LLC? That is your business?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jessica Moreau, you have the floor.
Okay, so if this appeal were denied, for the community, a well-suited home will remain vacant, delaying neighborhood improvement and decreasing property upkeep. For potential residents, individuals in need of safe structured housing will face extended wait times, instability, or homelessness, setting back their recovery and progress. For local employment, caregivers and staff that's already been committed to this program will lose job opportunities within their own community. For the business itself, significant investment in property preparation, licensing, and training will be lost, making it harder to sustain future projects that could serve this ward. For the city, denial limits growth of small community-based care models that reduce pressure on larger systems. In short, denial would both harm the people we aim to serve and the community that would benefit from a revitalized, well-managed, and compassionate home.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Moreau. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business plan and what it is that you intend to do at this property?
Yes, I would open up a 5-bed group home for adults who have mental health disabilities and or recovering from drug and or substance abuse. And it would be, it wouldn't be 24-hour supervision, but there would be supervision maybe around 8 to 12 hours per day. Meals will be provided, personal care will be provided, medication will be provided. Um, what else? That's all I can think of right now at the top of my head.
Okay. I'll turn it over to you now, Craig, if you have anything to add.
No, I think it's a great home that has been renovated and to accommodate Jessica's business. And I'm just looking forward to the business opening and helping people in the community, especially on the east side.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Bay, is there a word from city planning?
I would ask if the councilman would want to chime in first.
Councilman, do you want to chime in at this time or do you want to go last?
Oh, I'm fine. I can chime in now.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you. Again, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Councilman Anthony Hairston, who represents this area here where the BZA, the zoning variance is being requested. I had questions before coming here and hearing the comments from Miss Jessica and Mr. Craig. I have even more questions and thoughts. So first and foremost, typically when these type of requests come to us for support and the community support and BZA, we oftentimes work with our CDC Famicos Foundation, folks in my office in the community to have a discussion around whether it is something that the residents who live on the street would like to see happen. We oftentimes ask the applicants to go out and, canvass the street, whether it is gathering signatures, whether it is having folks reach out to our office to share their support, none of which has happened. And I just checked again with my office to make sure that we had not received any correspondence regarding this particular property. We have not. And so this is the first that we are being made aware what's being proposed at this property. Actually, and I take that back. I saw the agenda, and today is the first time we've been able to actually have details. I am concerned. I'm confused about the ownership here. Mr. Craig said that he owns the house, and Miss Jessica is his tenant. But he was also asked by you, Madam Chair, whether he actually owned Koala, and he said yes. But I hear Miss Jessica giving the details about how it's going to operate, but he also says that she's his tenant. So I'm confused about who actually owns this business, who's going to be operating this business, and where the accountability will be who will have accountability should this property not meet the standards of the community and also the things that have been mentioned today. Secondly, I'm concerned about the operation of the business. Ms. Jessica seems like a very well-intended young lady who wants to help, but we need clarity on how this house will be operated, who's going to be in the house, and so forth. And so, with those issues and concerns, as I narrated, Madam Chair and members of the board, that I would be asked you all to deny the variance today for those reasons. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Councilman. Mr. Bay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to describe a bit more about the reason that we're hearing this case. And so here is a map that you can see the saturation for residential care facilities. Basically, when these facilities seek state licensing, we get location map. We get a locations that we map. And so here you can see a wider view of this side of Cleveland. You see the saturation here between wards 9, 10, and 8. The star on this map indicates the property in question today. A closer view here, you could see the property is almost on the fringes of a 1,000-foot buffer from an existing facility on East 130th Street to the east. And so typically in these scenarios, we'd work with the applicant or attempt to work with an applicant to help them understand that they're within a 1,000-foot buffer and maybe pursue another location. But it sounds like the applicant here is already a tenant at the property. And so typically we'd recommend denial. It's really to make sure that the context of the neighborhood stays in line as far as like a residential appearance. And so when you're getting more and more of these facilities on one street, it tends to be a bit more of like a institutional kind of a neighborhood setting. And so that's the main reason for the ordinances today and why we typically would recommend denial. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Bay. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I do have a couple questions, both for the tenant and the property owner. To Ms. Monroe, can you share a little bit about your experience? Do you operate any other residential facilities?
Yes, I have a few answers. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll start with Mr. Hairston. I sent an email to ahairston@clevelandcitycouncil.org on 8/20 explaining everything. And I think I also put in there dmelton@clevelandcitycouncil.org. And I also sent a letter by USPS explaining everything. Also, to the question of, I'm sorry, your question, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question again?
No problem. Can you share your relevant experience? Do you operate any other residential facilities?
No, not a residential facility, but I do own and operate a home care agency in that Ward 10 at 17325 Euclid Avenue. I've been running that since 2019. This would not be more of a institution like Mr. I think his last name is Bay. Mr. Bay said this will be run as a home care, a home setting for individuals. It was something else that I said. I should have wrote it down. It was an answer to Mr. Hairston's question, and I cannot even remember what it said. I'm sorry, what he asked, and it was another answer to his question. I'm sorry.
Mr.
It was to who owned the how would the operation be set up? Mr. Craig owns the house. The name of his I guess property management is Koala Bay. The name of the business that I own would be called the Journey Ahead Living Homes. So yes, I am renting the home from him for my business so that I can house the individuals. That is how the setup is. I hope I explained that correctly.
All right, any additional questions from the board?
I do have a question for Mr. Robertson, Madam Chair. So what I did hear Ms. Monroe elaborate on the hardship she would experience as the tenant or business owner, but I'm hoping that Mr. Craig, Mr. Robertson can elaborate on what hardship he would experience as the property owner if the variance were not awarded.
Sure. I've not only incurred the cost of buying that house and waiting for a good qualified tenant to run a business or occupy the property. So, loss of rent means I'm out of pocket for the mortgage every month. And so I own Koala Rent. It's in my LLC to protect myself. And if I can't pay my mortgage every month with the rents coming in, that's a hardship for me as well.
All right, any additional questions, Nina?
And so to that, Mr. Robertson, can you share when did you buy the property and did you purchase it with the intention of it being used as a residential facility?
I didn't. I purchased the property in February of this year and took the property on. It was mismanaged by another property management and another owner, and had dogs running about, and it wasn't really conducive to a great neighborhood type of tenant. And so I looked forward to coming in, putting new flooring, new carpets, renovating the house to get a really good tenant in, because that's what I look forward to, is to not only put a good tenant in there to afford the mortgage, but also provide a good home for somebody. And, that's a good statement of my life, is wanting to provide for people as well, a good place to live.
And is it your position that there is no other feasible use of this property if the variance is not awarded?
It would, correct. And Jessica has signed a 2-year lease agreement with Koala Rents to rent the property. So Jessica and I would have to come to a mutual agreement of, if she can't open a business, she obviously doesn't want the property. So then her and I would have to discuss back and forth. And then I would be looking for another tenant down the road.
All right, any other questions from other board members?
Yes, Madam Chair, just a couple of quick questions here in the spirit of fairness as we go through these cases. Jessica, could you please just share with us what has been your community engagement plan as it relates to connecting with the residents, those in this particular ward, to bring this business to the community?
That's a very good question. Right now, the first thing that I can think of is cleaning up. When I've been to that home several times to get the home prepared for residents, and it's not the best neighborhood. I have myself went outside and collected trash outside. That would be the first thing, is cleaning up the neighborhood, cleaning up the surrounding areas. The next thing would be the residents that come into the home. They would be utilizing local stores, transportation in that area, doctor's offices with visits and things like that. I would also be hiring caregivers so that they could take care of the residents. So that is bringing people in from the neighborhood who would be working, gaining a paycheck.
Hey, Jessica, I want to redirect you here. The question for you was, what has been your community engagement plan? And what that means is, have you talked to any of the neighbors who live near this house and explained to them what you plan to bring to the neighborhood by way of your business?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that question. No, I have not spoken with anyone, not on a long-term basis. I've waved to the neighbors, like it's one house, because the house sits next to a field. On the right left side there is a home. I've waved to the neighbor. I have not spoken with anybody. No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Madison, do you have additional questions?
Yes, so through you, you just mentioned the staffing. Can you share a little bit about what your staffing plan is for the facility?
Yes, absolutely. So we need people to feed the residents and to give medication. We need someone there who is going to establish the house rules. So if we assign one person per day to do dishes, another person to sweep and mop the floor and vacuum, we will be making sure that those tasks are done for that the residents have done those tasks. We will also need people to go shopping for the residents, grocery shopping, personal care shopping. There will be caseworkers coming in for the residents. So that is another avenue with case managers.
So through you, Madam Chair, how many staff members do you foresee in total?
Oh, I'm sorry. I would say from me, 3, and then from the person's caseworkers, probably 5, because I don't think that all of them will have the same caseworker. So
And
maybe
thank you. And Madam Chair, just to you, last question. Are you neighborhood? Do you have any, history of just kind of growing up or living here? Is there family members? What's your ties to the neighborhood?
Yes, I have not grown up in Ward 10, but I have grown up in Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised my whole life. I also own property myself in Cleveland, Ohio. And then I have my business in Ward 10, the home care agency.
Thank Thank you.
All right, Councilman, I can see that your hand is raised. Do you have additional comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just briefly,
Mhm.
I would really encourage the Ms. Jessica to reach out to Pamiko's Foundation, and I will have Ms. Kukla send me over her application to BZA. I will personally call her and chat with her. I think she's well intended. However, there's just so much that has not been thought out here, and I'm also concerned that if she believes this is not a great neighborhood, why would you want to place a residential treatment home in this community if it's not a great neighborhood? So I just think there's more to be discussed here. I don't think it'll be appropriate to approve a zoning variance today based on what we've heard. I would just ask that the board, deny the zoning variance. Thank you. I
All
have to
right,
get to. I'm sorry.
okay, fully understand. Thank you, Councilman. Last call to the board members for questions.
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if Mr. Bay could zoom in on the saturation map.
Zoom in. I think this is the zoomed in version, right?
Yeah, I can, let me see here.
All right, while we do that, Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence as it relates to this application?
No, no, Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay.
And I was wondering if we should, if you would entertain this idea, if the appellant would be interested in a postponement to meet with the Development Corporation. I know we've had some extensive testimony, but it is an option for the appellant. It may be at your, if you would allow it. But the appellant may ask for a postponement to maybe meet with the Development Corporation if she would like.
Yeah. I mean, given we've heard the testimony, we're literally right at a vote. Also taking into consideration the saturation, I'm not sure if that would be productive. If anyone else has other thoughts, I'm happy to hear them and we can figure out how we move forward.
Madam Chair, I'm actually ready to go to a motion.
Okay.
I move denial based on the saturation, based on the fact that we don't have, there hasn't been community engagement previously. It kind of goes against what we normally look for, is for people to meet with the council person, meet with the CDC, have community engagement before they come before us, and have a solid business plan to present. Given those things lacking and the saturation, I move denial of calendar number 25-181.
All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
It does look like Shannon put up her hand. Is that?
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm so sorry. Chief Leonard, I can see that your hand is raised. Do you have comment?
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt your motion or your vote, but normally when, as Ms. Faith stated in her motion, that the board normally looks to the community meetings and meeting with the council and the CDC. Maybe it's helpful if the applicant gives that opportunity.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, given the saturation in this neighborhood, I'm just not sure that it would change anything. Is there any other board member who wants to chime in on their thoughts regarding community engagement or the lack thereof, and whether this should be postponed after extensive testimony, or whether we should move forward with the vote that we've started?
Madam Chair, just my thoughts, I concur with you. I don't see my potential vote changing, just based on the conversations that are coming forward. It could when it comes back, or if it comes back. But I guess my question would be, could the individual withdraw if that's the situation that we're looking for? And if she wants to bring it back, then that ownership can be the applicant versus us moving forward. But if we're going to move forward today with a vote, then it would be in support of denying what's in front of us. If we want to give the individual more time to do more homework, then it might be better for them to make that decision to withdraw.
Alternatively, the applicant has the right to request a rehearing. If there's any additional information that comes forward after this hearing is concluded, that application for a rehearing can be made, and we can decide whether we should rehear the case at that time. So it sounds like based on what I'm hearing, the board members wish to move forward with a vote on this matter. We have a motion on the table from Ms. Faith that moves to deny this application. Is there a second to that motion?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right, we have a second. Can we call the vote, please?
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Count number 25-181 is denied. This will be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant a letter.
All right, thank you for that. Good luck, Mr. Craig and Miss Jessica Monroe. We're now going to call the next case. That will be calendar number 25-175. This is at 1200 West 58th Street. Do we have someone here from Westinghouse Breakwater Properties LLC? All right, perfect. I'll have you all come forward, and while you do that, we'll read in the case. Ms. Holzer?
Our next case is calendar number 25-175. This is at 1200 West 58th Street. Westinghouse Breakwater Properties LLC owner proposes to redevelop the Westinghouse site into a mixed-use I can't talk this morning. I am so sorry. Proposes to redevelop the Westinghouse site into mixed-use residential comprised of converting an existing 7-story tower and adjacent foundry structure to residential in a G1 general industry district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. At this time, we'll swear in all those who are present for this case. We'll start here in the room, and then if you are attending virtually, just raise your hand and take yourselves off mute when we get to that point. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please say your name, spell your name, provide an address for the record, followed by I do. We'll start here with you, sir.
Sarah, can you actually put square on your mics? And then we'll be able to hear you.
David Fishback. I'm manager and director of the ownership group. I'm also president and co-chairman of the Krill Company, a construction management firm. My address is 1275 Main Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113.
Thank you.
My name is Justin Gustafson. I'm with AODK Architecture and project manager for this project. My address is 19610 Lomond Boulevard, Shaker Heights, Ohio, and I do.
And can you spell your, sorry about that, go right ahead.
Apologies, JUSTINGUSTAFSON.
Thank you.
Hi, Caitlin Bonicky, KAITLYN BONIECKI, a project designer at AODK. An address 2007 Northview Road, Rocky River, 44116, and I do.
Thank you. With that, we'll move online. Nate, I see you there.
Good morning. Nate Law, Cleveland City Planning, 601 Lakeside Avenue. I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak on this case? Seeing none, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Madison. Can we have history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property remains in the zoning of general industry since 1929. For the specific address, we found that a warehouse addition was made to the property in 1915, and it was noted as a 7-story building. This is part of a range of buildings that were erected in the early 1900s for the Westinghouse manufacturing. There are no variances on file for this address. And then we just see over the years in our Acela system, beginning in 2000, there were violations regarding elevator violations and maintenance. And there's a certificate of disclosure that was issued in 2019 stating that the authorized use of the property is as a machine shop. And then in September of 2019, a permit was issued to board up the property. And then a certificate of disclosure was issued again in 2021 stating that the authorized use of the property is as a machine shop. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the maximum gross floor area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Additionally, section 345.03 of the code permits the board to permit such erection, conversion, or alteration when the development of the immediately surrounding area is essentially residential in character and the erection or establishment of an additional residence building would not be incompatible with or hamper or obstruct the use of the general industry district for the uses for which they are intended. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I'll now turn to the project team. Who wants to speak first?
I will.
Okay, state your name and go right ahead and give your comment.
My name is Caitlin Bonneke. So the first thing we want to discuss here today is the conversion of the property to residential use. We submitted a packet of different images to the board here today, just to illustrate our position on the map of Cleveland in relation to some residential properties to the south, several of which are larger residential developments like the Edison, the Breakwater Bluff Townhomes, and then a new development happening along Breakwater as well. We know that this site is the last remaining portion that was a very large industrial site that incorporated parts of the Edison. So we're looking to convert this last remaining piece to residential in order to align better with the character of the neighborhood and provide the best use of this site, seeing that its industrial past is no longer really needed at this location. In reference to the second variance about the gross max floor area, we believe that we're exceeding that allowance simply because it's an existing tower. So obviously to meet that requirement, we would have to demolish portions of the tower, which doesn't seem obviously economically feasible or what we want to do based on the prominence and character of this building along the shoreway. We've provided additional context images in the packet that we sent over. This is the site map I was referencing that shows where we're situated in relation to other larger mixed-use multifamily developments. I mentioned the Edison was a portion of this property previously that has been since converted into townhomes. And then we supplied some additional context images, which everyone's probably familiar with the building anyway, but just wanted to show that it is to the south a much more residential district. And we want to maintain that character throughout this upper portion of the neighborhood and obviously bring life back to this building along the shoreway. Furthermore, in this packet, we have our site plan that illustrates kind of generally what you've been seeing on the site aerial. If you go to the next slide. So we'd be looking to maintain the existing tower, convert that to residential use, and later on proposing a second building to the south that would be residential mixed use as well. And then if you just flip through the last couple slides, we have some elevations showing the proposed changes to the tower, which basically would be infilling all the tarped openings to glass and putting residential units in that. Generally, we're showing the massing of what that new building could be. Currently, we're proposing 2 floors of commercial on a parking deck, followed by 3 floors of residential. So be essentially looking for that residential variance across the site as well. Did I miss anything?
We have a letter
State
of,
your name for the
this is
record.
Justin Gustafson from AODK. We did receive a letter of approval from Jenny Spencer. We had a community meeting last week with the Northwest Development Group, and in general, all participants were in favor of this development.
Okay. Do we have that letter from Councilwoman Spencer on file, Madam Secretary?
Yes,
Okay.
we do. Would you like me to read it?
Please.
Dear members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, I'm writing in support of the TW58 Cleveland LLC in their efforts to redevelop the former Westinghouse property located at 1200 West 58th Street. The Westinghouse property is an iconic former industrial complex in the heart of our neighborhood with its vacant tower highly visible from the shoreway. The developer plans to turn the existing tower into new housing units at varying price points and to build in future phases mixed-use space. The development team recently completed a brownfields remediation project to prepare the site for development. The developer has made an application to BZA with 2 requests: to allow for residential use in a non-residential district and to exceed the maximum gross floor area ratio for a residential building in a B area district. I offer my full support for these requests. The site is surrounded by residential uses today, and residential is the highest and best use for the site. Additionally, the existing building has existing floor plates that exceed code. The developers can't help that. Per my request, the development team met with the community via virtual meeting on Wednesday, October 22nd, to explain the requested variances and take questions and feedback. The Westinghouse project will be a catalyst for the neighborhood, and I'm thrilled that this brownfield site will be put to productive use. Best regards, Jenny Spencer, Ward 15.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude any other correspondence that may have been received?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, do you want to chime in here or?
We're just looking forward to bringing new life to the building and for the neighborhood and some sport and new amenities.
Okay, all right. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I'm interested to know what are these going to be apartments, condominiums? What is the rental going to be price-wise, things of that nature? Do we have floor plans for that?
We have submitted floor plans to zoning and a permit set to the city. We don't have the floor plans in here today. In terms of what the unit mix will be, we're looking at 1 bedroom, some studios, 2-bedroom units, some of which may be workforce housing, but most will be market rate. And they will be for rent.
There'll be 106 units in the existing tower. This is Justin from AODK. 106 units in the existing tower, and then around 30 units in the new build.
Okay, great.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair, just through you, can you guys speak to if the variance is denied, what unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty you all might face this particular project?
Steve, do you want to start or do you want me to chime in?
Well, if it's denied, there's no real practical use for the building. It's not set up for a manufacturing facility. The mechanical, electrical gear inside the building is shot. The elevator is shot. So you won't be able to get any, new tenants, new life into that building as manufacturing type facility. Plus, being in that neighborhood, everything is residential around it. So it's not cohesive for truck traffic and things like that. Obviously, it'd be an economic hardship for us. We've already purchased the property. We've gone through, did that about 4 years ago. We've already done a brownfield cleanup. We've abated all the asbestos in the buildings. We've taken out the lead and PCB contamination in the soils. And currently the biggest risk to the neighborhood is security. I mean, we've got kind of an open building that people can get into, and we just want to move forward as quickly as possible. Think the light.
All right, does that conclude your questions? All right, Mr. Nate Law, I'll give you the floor. Please chime in with your comments.
Sure. Good morning. This is Nate Law from Cleveland City Planning. Not much to add. We fully support the project. As has been stated, the neighborhood has really transitioned from industrial and heavy industrial intense uses when this property was originally zoned in 1929 to a very residential neighborhood. So It just makes more sense to have a residential development into this building at this point. Any potential industrial use would really conflict with the neighborhood surrounding there. And so we fully support the variances.
Okay, thank you for that. One last call to board members for questions. If there are none, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, based on today's testimony, I move to approve calendar number 25-175.
All right, thank you, Mr. Madison. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Faith. Can we call the vote?
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-175 is granted. This will be ratified next Monday. We will send you a letter. You can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Okay, great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you, and
Thank
good
you.
luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. We'll now move to calendar number 25-177. This is at 9907 Parkgate Avenue, and I do know that we have an appellant in the room for this. You can go ahead and come forward, and I'll have Ms. Holzer read in the case.
Our next case is calendar number 25-177. This is at 9907 Parkgate Avenue. Gold Capital Enterprise LLC. Owner proposes to change the use of an existing two-family residence to a three-family residence in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 5. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. At this time, we're swearing all those who are present for this case. We'll start here in the room and then we'll make our way online. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please say your name, spell your name, provide an address for the record, followed by I do.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Devontae Goldsby, DAVONCE GOLDSBY. And I do.
Can you provide your address for the record?
9907 Parkgate, Cleveland, Ohio 44108.
Thank you. Is there anyone online that would like to participate in this case? Seeing none, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Madison. Can we go to history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1923, a garage was erected on the property. 1950, a permit was issued to erect a bathroom on the 3rd floor. And then in the more recent history, we see that in 2025, a certificate of disclosure was issued stating that the authorized use of the property is as a two-family, and there are no variances on file.
And which year did you say the bathroom was permitted?
That was in 1950.
Wow. Okay, got it. Thank you for that. Can we have legal, please? Mary, are you there?
Yes, sorry.
All right, we're ready for the legal standard whenever you're ready.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the minimum lot area, maximum gross floor area, and parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Under section 337.03C, the Board of Zoning Appeals, upon prescribing proper safeguards to preserve the character of the neighborhood, may grant special permits for the remodeling of existing dwelling houses or the erection of row houses to provide for more than 2 dwelling units, provided that, and the 2 sections that are important here are, number 1, the square feet of lot area to be allotted to each dwelling unit is in accordance with the area regulations included in chapter 355. And number 4, the building, when altered or erected and when occupied, will conform to all applicable provisions of the building and housing codes as the Commissioner of Building and the Commissioner of Housing so certify.
All right, thank you for that. I'll now turn to the project team. Mr. Goldsby, do you want to tell us about your project?
Yeah, so basically I bought the house in June. The third floor was already framed. It had plumbing, electrical, everything was already up there. I just assumed that I can just finish it and make it a legal unit, but I wasn't aware of the whole process. So basically, I just want to finish it off. And I was gonna buy the lot next door. Well, I'm already in talks with the owner to buy the empty lot next door and make that parking for the unit as well. But basically, I'm just trying to rent out the third floor and the other 2 floors.
Okay, how is the property metered? Does it have 3 separate meters for each unit?
As far as gas or
Mm-hmm, electric, yeah, all of it.
No, it's not a third meter yet, but I actually work for Enbridge, so I know how to do all that stuff. But as far as the electrical, no, I would have to call the Cleveland Public Power or the illuminating company.
Okay, any questions from other board members?
Yes, Madam Chair. As it relates to your thoughts around rental, is this a short-term or long-term rental that you're considering?
It'll be long term because I see what's going on in the area, East Boulevard. The city's really trying to get the area back, so I want to be a part of that. And like I said, I work for the gas company, so I go in houses all day, and a lot of out of town investors, they really don't care about the houses like I would, because I actually live here. I was born and raised in Cleveland, so I just wanted to make a difference. Cause my mom, we grew up on Section 8 too, so I know how it is, but I just wanted to make the unit better. Really.
Thank you. Madam Chair, through you, can you also just speak to what your parking plan is for those who will be living in this potential property as well?
Well, right now, since they won't be able to park right there. That's why I was buying the lot next door to basically cut all those trees down and make asphalt on the grass so they can park over there. And I was going to gate everything off from the left side of the house all the way around. And just pretty much they can park to the right if they aren't able to park right there, or they can park off site for right now until I get everything finished.
Is there a separate entrance that leads to the 3rd floor?
Yes, 2 separate entrances,
Okay,
2 stairwells.
okay, nice.
And then last question is, if the variance is denied, can you speak to any practical hardship or difficulty that you might face?
Yeah, when I actually bought the house, I ran my comps for a 3-unit. Because like I said, it was already framed, the plumbing and electrical was already up there, so I was looking forward to getting rent for 3 units to pay the mortgage, to be able to pay the mortgage. So that'll probably hurt a little bit, but besides that's pretty much it.
Okay. So did you have reason to believe that it was already being used as a 3-family?
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, so just so we're clear, given that the other parcel is not before us today, we would only be looking at what parking is currently available on this site. So obviously we can't approve
Yeah.
what's not before us. And so it looks like, Xavier Brittany, can you go back to the site plan? The other one? This one, okay. So as of now, is there any dedicated parking on site?
Just that parking in the front, but no, I would probably need off-street parking.
Okay, so it would be, because there is a driveway, so there's nothing
There's no garage.
there's no garage, okay. And there's no parking in the rear either. So then, for the record, you were saying that there would not be on-site parking available to tenants?
So, because you're not allowed to park 6 feet from the window, so no, it wouldn't be.
Okay, so we would not be looking at your tenants would be parking
On the
on
street.
street? Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just going back to the parking again. The appellant just said that you can't park within 6 feet of the building, and it's actually 10 feet. So that parking pad that's in the front yard that is, runs into the front porch. The daylilies are lovely, by the way. Um, that
Thank
is not gonna be legal parking. And in fact, I would recommend removal of that so that no one is inclined to park there because they're going to end up next to the front porch, which is going to put you too close to openings of the building. That would apply also to anyone trying to park along the side of the building. So you really only have, just the area that would be uh, to the front of the building in what should be just the single lane driveway. And with regard, it's not before us, but your other lot that you're looking to procure, I think I would recommend just removal of the small trees that are closest to the house and leaving the more mature trees and working your parking around that. That would be my suggestion, as well as removing that parking pad that would tempt people to park illegally. Um, is there any other, I see that you have two access to the third floor. You bought the house with the understanding that it was 3 units. Where do you plan to keep your trash bins?
I would keep the trash bins in the backyard.
Okay. And will you have one for each unit then?
Yes,
that you're
ma'am.
paying? Okay. All right. That's really all the questions I had, Madam Chair. If there are none other, I would go to a motion.
Okay, let's hear from Mr. Bay before we go to a motion, please.
Thank you. My name is Xavier Bay, representing city planning. We're supportive of the variances here today. The parking variance is needed because the property is just outside of the TOD or transit oriented development zone. And parking is, I'll just clarify that parking is not permitted in the front yard. So we'd support the variances for the use of the property as well as relieving them from parking minimums.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that, Mr. Bay. All right, Ms. Faith, back to you. You said you would make a motion.
Right. Given the testimony we've heard and Mr. Bay's input, I want to stress that to the appellant. There is no parking in the front yard. So again, I would urge removal of that area so that no one is tempted to park there. I move approval of calendar number 25-177.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Do we have a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, thank you, Ms. Holzer. Can we call the vote?
Madam Chair, just to be clear, we should perhaps not grant number 5 regarding section 349.05A, which states that no parking space shall be located within 10 feet. We should not be giving a variance to that today.
Okay, Ms. Faith, do you want to amend your motion?
Right. Good call, Ms. Kukla. Thank you for that. With regard to item number 5, which states no parking shall be located 10 feet of the wall. I would like to add that as a condition to the motion.
All right, Ms. Holzer, does your second to this motion stand as amended?
It does.
All right, can we call the vote?
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-177 is granted conditionally. This will be ratified next Monday and we will send you a letter.
Oh,
You can contact us next Wednesday for further instructions.
okay. So, all right.
All
you.
right, you're
Good luck.
welcome. Good luck
You
with
don't
your
have, you don't
project.
have your permit yet. I don't know if that's what your question is. You'll have to communicate back with building and housing after.
So this is it
Ratification.
approved or?
Yes, it's approved. The decision will be ratified on Monday though, so you have to wait until Monday. And then everything will be ready for you to speak with or deliver back to building and housing on Wednesday of next week.
Okay. Can I ask what the condition is or?
The condition is just one of the items was not granted.
Okay,
And
It's
that's
that parking
regarding
in the front yard.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, we're next going to call calendar number 25-179. This is at 5104 Franklin Boulevard. Do we have someone from A&A Inc. present? Anyone in the room? Anyone online present from A&A Inc.? All right. Okay. Not hearing anything. I'm going to now move to calendar number 25-120. Is there anyone from Hingetown? I can see that you're coming forward. We'll go ahead and read this matter into the record, please. Ms. Holzer?
Our next case is calendar number 25-120. This is at 2823 Detroit Avenue. This is a violation notice. Hingetown LLC owner appeals under the authority of section 76-6 of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from notice of violation number V250-18059 issued on July 5th, 2025 by the Department of Building and Housing for failure to comply with section 327.02B and C of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances, which state that there shall be no change, substitution, or extension in the use of any building or premise until the required use permit and certificate of occupancy has been issued by the Division of Building and Housing. Per section 347.21, any establishment using 20% or more floor, shelf, and/or display areas individually or in aggregate for the sale of smoke shop products is denied or is defined as a smoke shop and requires an application and approval from the Department of Building and Housing. This case was postponed from July 28th at the request of the appellant due to a scheduling conflict. It was postponed again on September 22nd as the appellant was working with the city on an adjudication. And with that, I will hand over to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. At this time, I'll swear in all those present for the case. We'll start here in the room and then we'll make our way online. Please say your name, spell your name, provide your address for the record, followed by I do. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? We'll start here with you, sir.
Eric Van Swearingen, ERIK, VAN, SWEARINGEN, 2823 Detroit Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. I do.
Thank you.
Attorney Nicholas Hannick on behalf of the appellant. The address is 28601 Chagrin, Suite 600, Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know if I need to swear in as counsel, but I do.
Good enough. Can you spell your last name for me, please?
HANEK.
Okay, and Nicholas with the traditional spelling, is that fair?
Yes, CH.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Counsel?
Good morning, Attorney Ms. Butler for the City of Cleveland. I'm an Assistant Director of Law located here at 601 Lakeside. My bar number is 101658. I do.
All right, thank you for that. Listen to me taking over, please. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, we're driving together here. Is there anyone else present online that would like to join or speak to this case? Seeing none, we'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Madison. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is appealing a violation notice issued by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing. The standard of review is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by the preponderance of substantial, reliable, and probative evidence. If the appellant fails to meet this burden, the administrative decision must be affirmed.
All right, thank you for that. We'll start with the project team. You want to go ahead and tell us about your appeal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, I want to talk a little bit about the last time we were here, continuance, and one of the things we discussed, and it appears that not everything is ultimately before the board, what's going to ultimately matter here today. And I don't know if that we talked last time in the hearing that they were going to submit a the certificate of occupancy, and then that ultimately we expected on the same lines that would be denied, and that we'd want to hear those things concurrently. That has obviously not come up here. The letter came back on the denial of the occupancy on 10/13. Happy to still address and go through the notice of violation, the arbitrary capricious. I believe there's an argument to be made there, but ultimately I did submit information that was more akin to what would happen upon the denial of the certificate of occupancy for a smoke shop, because there's two grounds on which there was a denial just about 10 days ago.
Okay.
But the arguments are very similar as to both of these. You may have to hear this again going forward today. I'm happy to do it, but that's about where I think things would stand.
Okay, so you can go forward on the violation notice. Unfortunately, the other matter isn't before us at this time, so we can just revisit that once it pops up on our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just again, for the record, that was that would be coming was something we talked about last time, and the possible consolidation obviously didn't happen. Fine. Just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
So in addressing this violation and to sort of go through, I'll have Mr. Van Sweringen testify in a bit. Did the materials I submitted come into get to the packet? Yeah, that's from the applicant himself. I said supplemental material last week on Wednesday, the 22nd, which was acknowledged receipt by Ms. Jones. Does that make it? Is the materials a letter from my office with additional pictures and things like that as a part of this packet? Okay. So overall, this does not fit into what would be traditionally considered to be a smoke shop. This does not fit any other type of business in the city of Cleveland. There is no other business that looks like this. There's no other business that functions like this. There's no other business that has a like look, a like feel, like purpose. There's the majority of the space, depending on how you look at the 20%, you could see is just a wall and art. If we were to put a wall of socks on the left side of the wall, we could probably get that to 20% of the products being here. And the products here are not like any other smoke shop. This is not a smoke shop. This is a holistic health facility. In talking to one of our paralegals, they said the women that play mahjong underneath my office, the seniors, go places here because what happens is they sit down and talk about health and they look towards products for anxiety, products for pets, products for specific needs. This is curated, specific products. This is not generic shelves. It does not fit the definition of what we're looking at as far as what a smoke shop could or couldn't be. 20% of the retail space here is clearly, again, it could be other things on the wall. There could be things in this number be down. There's just specific products. The chairs are there for when a customer comes in and they can sit down and talk about their health needs. This is not a smoke shop, but it is started by someone who is a Marine Corps veteran who is an advocate for alternative health products. Someone that believes in the products, someone that knows that this is important both in his life and his story, deals with veterans, seniors, and others on a specific way. They don't carry generic products. They're specific tested products, including a product that they've created themselves locally as a response to customers. In addition, this is not the 20, the 20% is looking at just the one area of display and not the full scope of the parcel and the scope of the building. And what this takes away, and there's no other like-minded business here that has these kinds of products. Some of the products they have is a salmon flavored tincture of CBD that's for a pet to have anxiety for the vet. So then you can do that safely. The other ones are, as you can see on the walls on the right, those are specifically parts of what different compounds of the plant product that comes underneath the smoke shop ordinance, what the impact is on different parts of the body, different parts of the mental health, different types of what and how they're responding to the needs of their customers. This is not a generic retail shop in and out, and it's located in the Hingetown neighborhood next to essentially all kinds of curated shops in that area, whether it be tea, whether it be adult items, whether it be coffee, and they are just a different type of experience. There is no traditional retail shelf. Now, they're essentially, square peg, round hole. They have products, but the products aren't what anyone else is doing. There is no like shop. There is no other person doing this kind of market, and no one is handling like this. This is not you know, a bunch of shelves of slap these products on. These are specifically tailored to anxiety. These are specifically tailored for this specific market. This is tailored for this. So when coming in, and if you're looking at it from a formal government look, and you're saying 3 shelves, these products, sure. But that's not looking at the bigger picture here of what is is that an arbitrary look? Yeah. They're applying what is the new smoke shop ordinance, which I think is intentioned not for this type of store. This type of store is for someone entirely different. And I would like Mr. Strange to speak about like who's coming in his store, what his store is, and why it's not this, if that's all right with everybody. If I can have Mr. Swearingen say that. Can you explain what your store is, who it's targeted to, and who you work with? And I need you to hit that up in front.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Thank you. So when my business partner originally, had the idea for the store, it was about changing the idea of where to get products safely for people. Someone like myself, who was just a friend and at first just a customer, coming there looking for mental health support because a therapist had suggested that I go there because of the products that he had sold at the time. It was a very new store, and when I jumped in, and I soon taken over ownership, working with him, and wanted to keep pushing that because that's what we want to do, is provide a good, safe product to anybody of the legal age 21 and up, which is something that we're very strict on. It gives a safe space for the older generation to come in, which we do. I mean, our age range can range from 21 to 98. It's very all over the place. I mean, I would say average age is probably mid 30s to mid 40s. People come in because they want a CBD product that can help them mentally, physically. And that's what we've been doing for years, is we stay up to date on any new scientific studies. We want to educate people when they come in. We want to sit you down. We're not going to sell you just any product that's on our shelf. We stick to like less than 20 brands in this entire store because we stick with the brands that are third-party lab tested. They have COAs. We follow all of the federal and state guidelines to make sure that we aren't a smoke shop. We focus mainly on health, and it gives a safe place for people to come to. That's not like a generic store. I mean, they're going to walk in, there's going to be nicotine vapes everywhere and all this stuff that they're showing online with these nerd gummies that are 1,000 milligrams. And we don't sell that stuff. We focus on very low dosing products. I will testify. I will say people come in there all the time thinking, okay, they hear about us, they see THC, they're like, oh, I want to get high. Like, I come in, it's like, well, let's sit down. It's not what we're here for. We're here to alleviate any sort of pain from what these products can do for you, right? It's not about coming in there and just getting people stoned or inebriated in any way. It's giving them a safe product so they're not going to get sick. That's not full of a bunch of this garbage that people are getting sick off of. I mean, anybody can walk in my store and I can give them a COA for a product. I mean, it has to have a batch number. I've had people send me stuff from a company, it didn't have a batch number on it. Doesn't matter. I sent it back. I refuse to sell any product that is unsafe for my customers. And not a single product on our shelves do we not use ourselves before we even give it to a customer.
So I want to ask a question, because the violation that you've been charged with is more about there being a presence of what the ordinance calls smoke shop products. And in defining smoke shop products, the ordinance does reference things like CBD. Do you have CBD products in your smoke shop?
That is our main focus, yes.
Okay. And it also references things that may contain THC. Do you have those types of products in your store?
Yes, there are products with some amounts of THC in it, yes.
Okay.
But under the legal amount, yes.
Understood. And so my question is, what percentage of your shelf space contains the products that have CBD and THC?
So most products have some sort of variation of CBD with it, even if it is in combination of THC. I would say probably about 70% of the products that we do sell, 75% of the products we do sell is mainly just CBD support, you know, for pets, rubs, topicals, edibles, everything of that sort. I mean, smoking we have, but smoking it's the smallest section of my entire store. It's not because it's the edibles, that's the stuff that you want that's going to do the actual medical benefits for people or the health benefits for people.
Okay, thank you for that. Counsel, do you have additional questions for your client?
Yes, I do. So when we talk about, the chairwoman asked you about some of the different products. For example, would, in your opinion, based on being in this field, when you see, like, for example, a pet product, or that fits under the definition of what the city has done, correct?
Yes, it does.
And does anyone else offer the type of products that you offer, although they're labeled and they have different portions of what the city is intentioned, is it like any other products in the city?
No.
Why do you say that?
You don't find our brands. We tend to work with more smaller family-run companies, not big, massive corporations that are just basically in it for the money. We go around and we highly curate every product that we work with. We don't work with any distributors. We work direct with the owners of these companies so that we know exactly what product we are selling to our consumers.
And just a couple other follow-up. One, you're specifically, you are a Marine Corps veteran, correct? Well, can you speak to, you do specific work with veterans at this store, correct?
Yes.
Could you explain that?
So when I came in about a little over 4 years ago with the business, that was my focus. I was actually sent there for mental health support. Being a Marine Corps veteran, unfortunately, I suffered from pretty, at the time, severe PTSD and have gone through my fair share of help through the VA. And I have dealt with other addictions in life, alcohols and prescription drugs and stuff. But I'd gotten all the help years ago and came out and found that CBD and sometimes small amounts of, legal THC does help with my mental health support. Mainly sleep is one of my biggest issues. That tends to be one of our biggest issues for a lot of people, unfortunately, and that's probably our biggest field that we focus on. And for myself, I've always found that this products they work great for me. And if they can work great for me, maybe I can get other veterans in, which I have. Is this product for everybody? No, it's not. And I will 100% explain that to my customers that maybe it's not, but it's up to you to try it. Because if I can give you any sort of relief, it may not be the answer to these veterans' questions, but if it can give them any sort of relief, that's better than nothing. But that's ultimately up to them to decide, the consumer, if they want to take the product or not.
Mr. Chair, two last questions, if I may. If you put, just for example, I could see there were socks in the front window. If we put socks up on every last brick in there, do you think you could get the amount of product, to be the 20%?
Yes.
Would that be ridiculous to have that happen? Put socks throughout the walls there?
That's not what I was.
What are you saying? Put what?
Put socks. If you put socks on every free space and we called that all retail space, could you do that?
I could.
Would that be ridiculous?
It wouldn't be what I'm in this business to do and provide help. But yes, it would it'd be pretty easy to get the number under 20%, but that's not why I'm here.
And so the last question is, do you consider yourself, although you're being defined as a smoke shop here, do you in any way consider yourself a smoke shop?
Not in any way
possible. What do you consider yourself as this store?
I'd say alternative health and wellness, main focus CBD products, and getting into other alternative healths like functional mushrooms and amino acids and stuff like that. So it's the other things that we do hit. It's just that some of our products unfortunately fall under the new definition of smoke shop.
I have nothing further, Madam Chairman.
All right, thank you for that. Attorney Butler, do you want to chime in?
Thank you. Dennis Butler for the City of Cleveland. First of all, I just want to make clear, we're not discussing a variance today. We're challenging a violation notice. And I haven't heard anything that the applicant has offered to challenge the actual violation notice. It's I'm hearing is the applicant is substituting his own standard here, when the law is very clear. You just heard him tell us that he doesn't consider himself a smoke shop. You've also heard him testify that that some 70% or most of his products contain at least CBD. Under the Cleveland's law, those are all considered smoke shop items. The inspector went into this shop, he made a calculation, and under the smoke shop law, he issued a violation notice. As far as everything I've heard today, that violation notice was appropriate. This is a smoke shop, maybe by not by the applicant's definition, but by the city of Cleveland's definition, by the legislature's definition. And he's over the 20% threshold. And he can correct that in a number of ways, but he's not done that. I don't know about the whole SOC proposition. I'm not sure if that would satisfy, but under what we see, under what the applicant's described in his attorney, this is a shop that is well over the 20% threshold of items that are considered smoke shop items. It's the city's belief that the violation notice was appropriate. Now, if we want to go the variance route, he's granted a variance, then that may change things in the future, but that's not what we're discussing today. So we ask that the board uphold the violation notice as appropriate. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Attorney Butler. Can we put the legal standard back on the screen, please? And as the applicant, I want to give you one opportunity to respond to the legal standard in case you wanted to chime in there. So the standard review is you must demonstrate that the decision to issue this violation notice was in some way illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by the preponderance of substantial, reliable, or probative evidence. Do you want to speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. I think I would disagree with legal counsel for the city on this, and I do think the SOC proposition is exactly why this is arbitrary. They're looked at. We believe this is the retail space because they were not even traditional retail shelves and not looking at wall space, not looking at other spaces throughout, not looking at other things that could be used. There's no other shop that looks like this, which is the definition of arbitrary. So they're picking a shop that doesn't look like the other shops and saying, oh gosh, there's 20 shelves in this store. There's 2 shelves here, and that's where they have their products. But it doesn't have a traditional retail feel and look. We could put up, he could put up shelves to show that. But why was the inspector looking at, here's the 3 shelves, here's my calculation, when it's 80% empty wall? And so that's the numbers are arbitrary when you can pick an arbitrary point to make the 20% calculation. And that is certainly how the law is written from the legislature's perspective. That's certainly how the law was written for the city of Cleveland, that it's not clean as to what retail space or potential retail space looks like. And in this building, that is arbitrary to say, this is your retail space here, this is not. And that's the definition of arbitrary.
Okay, thank you for that. Looks
Excuse
like you
me,
wanna chime in once more?
Oh, sorry,
Would like to
Madam Chair. I did notice Shannon Leonard had her hand raised for
Okay.
some time.
Yes, I will absolutely come back to Chief. I'll give you one
First.
opportunity to respond.
Yes, understood. However, here, the standard of review is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, or capricious. What I'm hearing here is that is the applicant seems to feel that the law is arbitrary or illegal or capricious. The law is clear. The decision that the inspector made at the time was based on the law and comports with the law. So that's all I wanted to make clear.
Does the law articulate what is considered as part of that percentage? Like, does it include wall space? Does it include any of these other things that we've heard as part of the calculations to come up with how much of the space is smoke shop products?
Yes, my understanding is this is a measurement of shelf space of 20%.
Okay.
Now, we could always challenge the inspector's decision based on his calculation. That's not what we're doing here. The applicant has plainly stated that the most of his products are smoke shop products as defined by the law.
Okay.
So He's admitted to that. So I don't think that's an issue.
Correct. Okay.
Chairman, I apologize. I'd like to refer directly to the law, if I may. Under smoke shop, it does say 20% of floor, shelf, and or display areas individually or in the aggregate. Meaning there was a decision made upon the enforcement that can be looked at as arbitrary because they chose what was the floor, shelf, or display areas individually in the aggregate. There are multiple interpretations here as to what the display area would be in the aggregate. And it is clear that it's clear that there's substantial space that could have been taken into account in the decision-making of the administrative official. That is an arbitrary decision that could have went either way. And that's why we're here, is that they looked at this as, again, it's not just you take the things where the products are, it's floor, shelf, and or display areas individually aggregate. I'm reading from the smoke shop ordinance of 34721, definition B, under 5, retail establishment. And it goes through smoke shop products. And it's certainly clear that retail space, is subject to an arbitrary enforcement.
Okay. Chief Leonard, I'll give you the opportunity to chime in here.
Yes, Madam Chair, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator for the City of Cleveland. So first and foremost, this is a violation notice for changing the use without first seeking a certificate of occupancy. The applicant does not have an occupancy permit on file, and no matter where you start a business in the city, you need to receive an occupancy permit to operate your business. Second of all, the applicant did submit an application after receiving the violation notice to secure that certificate of occupancy. And his application stated that it is no construction, change of use only, retail CBD store being reclassified by ordinance as a smoke shop, applying for a permit as required for occupancy use. I will be selling Kratom, CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9 vapes, no nicotine or tobacco, papers, bowls, dry herb vapes, and pipes. And so that is in the clear definition of smoke shop products, which is one of the definitions regarding the smoke shop. And then the measurement of that 20% or more of floor, shelf, and or display areas individually or in the aggregate used for the sale of smoke shop products. So his application does define that he is selling all of those smoke shop products as required to be defined as a smoke shop. In addition to that, they were to supply a floor and shelf and display plan for any smoke shop occupancy permit application. So the issue here is that they have a violation for not receiving an occupancy permit for this use, and they've received that violation and then have subsequently submitted for an occupancy permit, which would clarify that they did not have that certificate of occupancy previously.
Okay. Thank you for that, Chief Leonard. Any questions from the board? All right. If there are no questions from the board, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I couldn't get off mute quickly enough.
Oh, that's okay.
Did they submit their floor plan or not?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And to our city attorney, Mr. Butler, would the appellant be able to cure his situation if he were to add additional merchandise that were not in the smoke shop definition?
Yeah, my understanding is yes.
So the vacant wall that he has, if he were to transform that to merchandising, whether it be t-shirts, doggy gear, something like that, that would expand his merchandise base so that it would reduce the percentage of what he's selling that falls into the smoke shop category?
I'd recommend that he work directly with the inspector that wrote the violation notice in order to get clarification on how exactly he can cure this.
Okay.
Can I clarify that answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Chief Leonard, go right ahead, please.
So just because he adds more merchandise won't cure him of this issue. He'd have to reduce the amount of floor, shelf, and display space in by itself or in the aggregate to less than 20% to not be considered a smoke shop. Otherwise, he will be considered a smoke shop because he sells smoke shop products, as noted on his application, and will thus need to seek a variance to be able to continue to operate as a smoke shop unless he reduces that amount to less than 20%.
And then I would also add that it looks like the violation number that is at question in this matter was issued on June 5th, 2025. So if he makes changes today or tomorrow, that doesn't impact the question that we're here on today, which is how was the shop oriented on June 5th? And we've heard testimony regarding how that shop was oriented, that there's about 75% of CBD or THC products on the shelves at the time this violation notice was issued. So I think based on the evidence we have before us, we may move to a decision if there's no other questions. Chief Leonard, I can see that your hand is raised. Is that an old hand or do you have additional comment?
That's an old hand. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given the testimony we have today, I move we uphold the violation.
Okay, there's a motion. Do we have a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
and Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Count number 25-120 is denied. The decision of the inspector has been upheld. This will be ratified next Monday. We will send you a letter.
All right, thank you for that. Have a great day, everyone. We're now gonna recall another case. This would be 25-179. We called for this case earlier. It's now 11:14.
We attempted to reach out and there was no answer and we left a voicemail.
Okay, so we have no one here from A&A Inc. to put forth their application to appeal the violation notice issued in this matter. Is there a motion?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I did notice a new number join the call. I think it may be worth asking them to unmute if you're calling in to use *6 to unmute.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bay. We have someone calling from 231-974. I feel like it's a eye test. Who's calling from the 231 number? Please unmute yourself and tell us who you are. If you want to unmute, you can press *6.
And just to reiterate, I see the phone number 231-974-09793.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bay. Which matter are you here for if you're calling from the number 231?
Hello?
All right, there we go. You have now unmuted yourself and we can hear you. Which matter are you here for?
Yes, my name is Ruben Mason, and I was here for Casa Vida, but I believe I came in late.
Oh, okay, yes. We actually, what do we do? Casa Vida was on, and it'll be coming back to hearing November 17th. It was postponed.
November 17th. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, you're quite welcome.
Okay, have a nice day. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Okay, so we don't have anyone else online. There's no one in the room. So going back to calendar number 25-179, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move dismissal of calendar number 25-179.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer.
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Count number 25-179 is dismissed.
All right, that concludes our matters for today. I will now go through the old business. We have numbers 2 through 6 up for ratification. Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right, those are all ratified without objection, and that concludes our business for today, 11:16, and we will adjourn. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Have a good week, everyone.
You too. You.